Hi there, folks. Amazing Atheist here. This video goes out to my buddy Hardcase. I can call him my buddy, I think. Basically, this is just some critiques of some stuff he said in his video. I'm going to try to keep it short and hopefully sweet. First and foremost, Hardcase, you said that if there was no law, you'd shoot a motherfucker just for looking at you wrong. But this should be suspect for two reasons. One, you were drunk, and drunken people tend to make boasts like that. The other is that you are a pinko commie socialist nut job. Just like, I'm not saying nut job is a bad thing. I'm definitely a right-wing, libertarian, freedom-loving nut job. So we're both nuts, and we happen to be on the opposite ends of the nut spectrum. You could say that, actually, it's funny, we're both nuts, yet we're both dicks. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. The thing is that, as a socialist, you've said a number of times you like big government. So it's kind of in your best interest to promote the idea that laws are what really stop people from committing crimes. And they do, to an extent. I mean, it's shown. It'd be hard to argue, you know, in places where there's very little police presence, places like, say, Compton, you know, South Central Los Angeles, places like that, you see a lot of fucking crime. Police don't want to go there. They are not, because the people do not allow them to enforce laws there, basically. Police presence is resented in those neighborhoods, and crime is fucking astronomical. So obviously, without the influence of law enforcement, there is going to be the rise of a criminal element. But those figures might actually be deceiving to an extent, because you have to remember that a lot of the crimes that take place in these neighborhoods are actually gang warfare. And gangs are really just little miniature police forces. I mean, the reason gangs exist is to do the jobs that the police don't do in those neighborhoods. I mean, that's the whole reason that the mafia came into being, was to protect people who were engaged in illegal enterprises, to bring order to the streets. I mean, you can have a criminal free-for-all, but there's a reason why crime gets organized. It gets organized because the government doesn't organize it. So a lot of these things that are perceived as crimes are actually the system finding its own natural order. But the thing is that in any of those places, it's really looked down upon in pretty much any culture. In fact, I would be willing to go so far as to say it is looked down upon in any culture for one person of, you know, modest social standing to shoot someone else also of modest social standing for no reason other than they looked at them funny. And I just don't really see it in you. I think I know you well enough to know that you're not just going to shoot someone for looking at you strange. I could see you shooting some motherfuckers, but I think you would need a little bit better reason than that. Now, I could see someone looking at you funny and you knocking their fucking teeth out or something, because you seem like you're a pretty, I wouldn't even say violent, but just a very, I guess violent is the best word, but it's not really the one I want to use, guy. But that's not really here nor there. That's me. That's really kind of insulting, because it's me saying I know you better than you know yourself on this issue. But you gave me permission to make the video, so there we go. The other issue, one of the other issues I take issue with, is I sound like a fucking imbecile. Gambling and prostitution. You said that these are vices that have never done anything good for society. I disagree. at some point, I'm planning to bring your ass to Las Vegas, so that we can go get some pussy and hopefully track down Extreme Elvis. I know you really want to find that motherfucker. While we're there, I'm going to show you just how big of an industry gambling can be, just how many jobs it can create. I mean, here's an entire city of hundreds of thousands of people. Hundreds of thousands of people live there, whose jobs are supplemented almost entirely, in fact, entirely, by the gambling industry. I come from, I lived in Gulfport, Mississippi for a while, and that's a big gambling epicenter. The casinos were responsible for 10,000 jobs in that city. And that's not including all of the tourists they drew who went to those restaurants, stayed at those hotels, attended those movie theaters in that area. It literally exploded that economy there. It went from being the middle. I mean, it went from being a fucking nowhere to the South's answer to Vegas, basically. And so it creates a lot of jobs. It generates a lot of revenue. And socialists like yourself, I mean, this generates a lot of fucking tax dollars. These are huge. This is a huge industry in this country. People like to gamble, and you know what? It is a vice for some people. There's a lot of people out there who fucking lose their shirts gambling. But you know what? For every one guy that's the one hard luck fucking story that lost everything because he couldn't control himself, there's like 100 responsible people who know when to quit, or at least, kind of when to quit. They might go a little too far. I mean, my dad is fond of gambling. He likes to go play poker. And he loses some fucking money every now and then. And my stepdad is fond of gambling. He likes to go play blackjack. And he doesn't really have that much money, but, he always wins, though. So maybe that's not a good example. I know a lot of people who gamble, and I don't really hear many of those stories. In fact, I don't think I've ever actually heard someone tell me one of those stories about losing all their money in a game of chance. That shit happens, of course. But most people, I think the vast majority of people are responsible enough to handle that shit. And I personally don't understand the appeal of gambling, although I've lost a few $100 myself, maybe. When I last went to Vegas, I think I lost like $80. But I enjoyed it, and it was fun. I mean, I don't know why it was fun, but it was. And prostitution is a lot easier. Prostitution, in fact, I challenge you to find the negative thing about prostitution being legal. I shouldn't even, I don't even think I should have to justify. I mean, even I can manage to get some ass here and there, scrape it together, I don't really much because I'm such a fucking hermit, but I can do it. I've shown myself capable of getting it. But you know what? There have been a few times where, I think that I could have utilized such a service. There's plenty of girls out there. I mean, there's plenty of call girls out there, high-class call girls for you could fuck for $200, and sometimes that's been pretty much worth it to me. I could look at that and say, yeah, that sounds reasonable. Send her over. And this is, if you have a regulated industry of prostitution, if you have an industry where prostitutes are being tested, where they're being where it's made sure that it's safe, they're not contracting STDs. You make sure that they have the same health standards that say a fast food place would have. that I don't see the problem with it. I really don't see